Hello? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
Sure. Uh,
Yes, we can see your
so
screen.
lab one. I'm guessing everybody here already has the Anaconda Navigator app on their system. Please, if you haven't, you should confirm that in the chat. Okay. So if you have your Python, I'm sorry, if you have your Anaconda, you can just open it and open the Python notebook. So that opens this up. Then you can go to the campus module. There's what's it? So it should be in my downloads. So one thing I'll also suggest, like I said in the Java class, for everything you're doing, try and have know where they are, right? Like make sure they are everything is like things are not just scattered everywhere. Anything you're using, anything you're downloading, anything you're writing in, know where they are. One thing to do is to just have a folder hierarchy. So I think I have tutorials here. One thing I can just do is regroup them. I'll say, okay, this is I think that was Java. So I'll move this into the Java. This was the lab we did a couple of days ago, the Java lab. So I'll move this into Java and I'll create another one for Python. So I know anytime I'm doing anything, tutorial, I know where to go. So I say lab one and I move this here. So I can easily go to my desktop tutorials, Python, lab one, and this is the lab I need. So that's it. So basically, I won't really be reading most of it. Well, the first one always, I think for every programming language, the first thing they want you to do is to at least print out something, and it's always hello world. So we're trying to print out hello world the same way we're trying to print out something is in Java. In Java, you can also print it. The syntax is just a bit different. So we're trying to print out a string. So this is all they said we should print out. So print, then your hello world. And run that, then you get your hello world. That's fine. You feel like you haven't achieved anything, write some code that will print good morning. It's just the same thing. If you're as lazy as I am, copy and paste, then change to good morning, right? And that gives you what you also need. So it's just saying you might feel like you haven't really achieved anything yet because all you did was copy my code. So now it's your turn to write your own script in the box below. Write some code that will print good morning on the screen. Once you've done this, click the run button. This is the run button. This is the stop button. There are sometimes you're doing something. I think one of the common example is you're collecting an input and you run the code, it's asking for an input, or sometimes there is an error. So your run button is no more working. All you need to do is to stop it, then run it again, then you'll go fine. So there's your run, there's your stop. I think those are the two buttons that are most important. And sometimes the whole notebook start misbehaving, right? Start doing some things you don't understand and stuff like that. So you can just easily restart the kernel. So that gives you like it refreshes everything and we should be good from there. Okay, got any idea yet? Number 3, got any idea yet? One more just to check. Write some code to display. Hello, John. Copy and paste again. Hello, John. That's it. So that's great if your name is John, but let's try make something that will greet everyone by their name. To do this, we'll need to deal with user input in the box below. Now, in Jira, we did print, and at some point we were collecting user input using scanner. It was a bit complicated, a bit complex, but thank God for Python. Things are a bit simpler here. All you need is to get your input. Now, I'll copy and paste this code and explain what is there in a minute. So now what is happening here is this. We are collecting an input, right? We want to collect, okay, let's just run it and see what we get. We're using the input function to collect something from user. So here you can actually type Anthony and get hello Anthony. We're collecting something from the user and we're saving it inside name. So that's just it. Remember variable from Java class, one of the first thing we did. Name here is a variable, although in Java the syntax is different. You put a type and stuff like that, but here Python is not really strongly tied, so you can easily just have your name here, name equals, then what you want to save inside it. In this case, we are saying we are expecting the user to enter something, and the question or the text we want to show to the user, you can easily put it inside the input function. Input is a function that has been written for us by by Python. It's a Python function. The same way print here is a Python function. We also have input, which is a Python function. So all we are doing is we get a name from the user, or we get some characters from the user, we save it inside name, right? Then we say print hello plus, hello is a string, right? Plus the variable we just saved something into. So the string and the variable will getting something into. So anything I put in the name, I'm going to get hello, blah blah blah. So that's that. So want to try it again with another name, click the box with your code and then run press again. That's also what I just did. To get input from the user, you type input, then the message you want to get. So that's just it. So you want to get something from the user, you just type input, put it as a function, input. Anytime I mention function, just remember this bracket. Same thing in Java also. When they start talking of function and methods, then you start seeing things like this particular bracket. You remember your input in some of your functions in Java too. You have something like system dot out dot print, then right, then you put your argument inside it like that. Same thing happens here. You have the name of your function, then a bracket whereby you can put some argument that is required inside it. So once we have that input on this line, we want to store it somewhere. That is what the name bit does. I already explained that. Name is called a variable. It's just the name of a box we can keep things in. That full line says get the input from the user and store it in a variable called name. I'll explain that. Once we have the value stored in name variable, we can use it how we want to use the variable. We just put its name wherever we want it to appear. Check out the last line. This time we want to print a message that also includes whatever is stored in the name variable. So hello, then the variable name. Now the add bit here is this, right? This is the add bit. I think this is what most people have an issue with. Name is a variable. So you don't put it in this. You can say hello name. This is not going to work. All you're going to get is okay, let's use a good name. All you're going to get is hello name. So name is a variable. You have to concatenate your normal string, which is hello, with your variable. So how do you concatenate? Take out this, then plus name. That is concatenation. You are concatenating this and this. Like this is a statement, this is an element, this is another element. So you're trying to join them together. So that's what concatenation means. So Anthony, then you get hello Anthony. Don't make the mistake of putting this name inside this apostrophe. It's not going to work. You're just going to get anything inside this apostrophe comes out the way it's written. It's what's outside there. You can now concatenate a variable. You can't add a variable into the apostrophe. Great. So let's continue. This time we want to print a message that also includes whatever is stored in the name variable hello plus name. Joins hello as a string and name as a variable together and then print it on the screen. Enough talk, let's try another example. Write some code below to ask someone for their username and then print out your username is X, where X is the username they gave you. So basically all they are trying to say here is collect an input from the user and then tell the user your username is something. So basically you can still say, okay, your variable is X, right? Or if you don't want that, you can say username equals input, right? You want to collect something from the user. It says ask someone for their username. So enter your username, right? And at the end of the day, you want to print out the person's username using. Now, one thing I do is I just copy what I was given. This is what they said we should show the user. So your username is X. So I put it here, and I know X. Oh, sorry, X is a variable, so I take it out, bring it here, and I say username because my own username instead of X, I'm using username. You could use X if you want. So if you say X here, then you're saying X here. Or in my own case, I'm saying okay, I want it to be readable, so I say username. And I say username. Now I'm trying to show you something here. You can say enter your name, right? If I take this up, there's really no space. So you don't necessarily need to write your code once. You can write what you can write, then print it out, like run it and see, okay, these are improvements you can make and keep on improving it. There are some code I've been writing for the past 3 years and I'm still improving them till today. Like anytime I still open it, there's still something to change on it. So you can't write a perfect code once. You write, you run, you save, you run, you check out things you can improve, and you improve it. So let's see what some things we can improve here. One thing is the space here. The second one is the space here. So nothing breaks. You can just put a space here and put a space here, right? Run. Anthony. Your username is Anthony. And if there's still anything you feel like updating, you do the same thing. Same thing goes for the Java class. You don't write a perfect code once, even if it's just the method you can write at once, print out something, run it, see that it runs, then continue. I hope that makes sense. If you feel you have to write everything before you run it, by the time you want to run it, you don't even know where to start. But one thing is, if you're writing it bit by bit and you're running it, you always have a safe point, like a, how do I put it? Your last, let's say at some point something breaks, okay, I think while I was at this point, it was working fine. So you could easily control Z back to that point, run it again, see that it runs, then now you can easily say, okay, take it one step at a time again and say, okay, this point is working fine. Let me add one more line run it again. If it's still working fine, then I'm good. I hope that makes sense. So don't wait until you finish the whole question before you run your code. Run it, even if it's just username, blah, blah, blah. This is all you could run at once. Run it, see that nothing breaks, then continue. Okay. One more example of using inputs. Write some code below to ask someone for their age and print it out. You are X years old, where X is the age they gave you. This is a bit tricky because the age needs to appear in the middle of the output. Have a play and see if you can work it out. So we are asked to ask for someone's age. Age equals input, right? Just ask for their age. Enter your age, please. Right? Okay, just do that. Then want to print, right? Print you are X years old, right? X meaning age. You're X years old. So now the tricky part here is that X is a variable. So first we need to make sure this is not in an apostrophe. So how do you do that? Because here it was easy. We just had to put our stuff here, concatenate, enter, and close. It's actually as easy as if there's any other thing at the back of username, we could just concatenate and continue. This is at the back. If there's another variable coming in, you say, okay, password, right? If there's another text coming in, you could just keep on going as long as they are not the same. Just plus, terminate one, start another one. So that's how it works. So if you run this, for instance, you get Anthony, right? What happened? Yeah. So your name, your username is Anthony. This is at the back. There is a kind of issue here. Just fix it up. Right? Run it again. Anthony. Your name, your username is Anthony. This is at the back. The same thing we just did is the same thing they're asking us to do here. You are is a string. X is a variable. Years old is a string. So just split it. You are, that's your own separate string, right? Concatenate. X is a variable. Concatenate. Years old is a string. Start another line of string. It's just the same way as saying you have different variables. First equals you. The first thing is you want to split this thing. One statement ends here because X is a variable. X is another statement that ends. Years old is another statement. So you are, that is a string. That is the first string. Second one is X, right? X, which is age in our own case, age, right? Third is years old. So years old. So it's as easy as coming here and saying first plus second plus third, right? Run that. You have enter your age. I'm 12. You are 12 years old, right? So, but instead of having these multiple lines, you already know your first is you are. So you could say you are, right? You can give it a space because, yeah, this is a bit squishy. So give it a space. Then second is age, right? Third is years old, right? Then take them off. 12. You are 12 years old, and okay, this is, give it a space, run it again. 12. That's it. You are 12 years old. I think this is one of the major issues people are having with printing, concatenating text together. I just want to find out if this makes sense, or if you want me to take this again. Like, you need to understand both here and Java, any programming language, you need to understand how to concatenate different strings together. Does this make sense, or do you want it taken again, please? You can unmute and speak.
Hello, it does make sense to me, and I was just wondering, I think there might be perhaps later on in a way to understand these three different elements that you are trying to put together. Let's say the way you have put it down, like you are X, and you've said already 1, 2, 3. So maybe in another scenario where you want to concatenate all these things together, so you have to understand where does it end, which is the second one, what's the third one. So maybe that one will come actually later. But for now, it makes sense the way you are putting them together and dividing, and then later on putting them together. Thank you.
Okay, great. So basically, all I did was, you have this text. This is what they said you should print out. The first thing, let's even pick it from there. You are asked to print out your X years old, right? You're X years old. This is what they said you should print, and you said you're 12. Then you're still getting your X years old. X year needs to be 12, right? That is, they just said, okay, print out your X years old, where X is the age they gave you. So basically, by English, this is not correct. This is supposed, X year should be 12, and you already know you have 12 saved inside age. So all you need to do is probably change this one to age, and you're still going to get your age here, so that's still wrong. So you know there is something missing here, right? This is supposed to be a variable. So once you know it's supposed to be a variable, and you know there is a string coming before it, you just terminate the string, concatenate, and if there's also anything after it, terminate, like concatenate and begin another string. And note, I think in fast, note what is happening here is actually because most of the editors these days are intelligent. So once you open a bracket or you open an apostrophe, closes it for you immediately. Make sure not to fall victim of that. So take it off. You just need one. The closing is here. This is the opening of this one. This is the closing. This is the opening of this one. This is the closing. So make sure not to have more than enough. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. That's not my age. This is my age. So that's my age. So you are 12 years old. So that gives you that. So if you still have more, let's say we still have something like this: name equals input. You still want to collect the person's name, and you want to enter something like your name is blah blah blah, and your age is blah blah blah. You can keep on concatenating as long as you want. So input, enter your name. Then you want to enter something like your name is name, right? And you are age years old. Name is Anthony, age is 12. So your name is name, and you are age years old. You know something needs to go here, which is this one. Something needs to go here, which is this one. So like I said, terminate, concatenate, terminate. Make sure you don't have more than enough. Terminate, concatenate. I think if you do this, it should work without. So you have that. So you have your name is a variable, and you are variable years old. So if you run this, you should have Anthony 12. So your name is Anthony and you are 12 years old, and there is a kind of, if you don't want it this way, and I think some people write it this way, but if you don't want it that way, just introduce a space, and you go 12 So your name is Anthony and you're 12 years old. I hope that makes sense. So if you still have more, just keep on adding. If it's just a string, you make sure you wrap it in this. If it's a variable, no need for wrapping. If it's a string, wrap it. If it's a variable, no need. If it's a string, wrap it. So that's that. I told you I wouldn't teach you how to do program properly. We'll do that in Java, but we need to know a few words to make any progress. Print inputs, they're called functions. In Java, they are called method. Don't mix them together. They are the same thing, but terminologies are just different. The things we put inside the bracket are called arguments or parameters. So you open a bracket. This is a function. You open a bracket. This thing inside it is called an argument. You are passing. Okay, let's calm down. Parameter is a bit simpler, like English wise. You are passing a parameter, but both parameter and argument are the same thing. You are passing a parameter to a function. You are just telling the function, please help me to show the person this. Print is a function that is showing. What you want to show is your parameter. So that's just that. If they give you an answer back like it does, then we say it returns a value using a function is called calling it. Yeah. So like for instance, input is returning enter the name. That's what it returns. This one is returning this and print is returning. So when it throws something back to you, it means that it returns. Your function is like a box. Okay, let's say your calculator, for example, you supply it a value, you supply it 2 and 2. Then at the end of the day, it returns 4. Now, those 2 and 2 you gave to it is called parameters, right? Then what the 4 you get is called the return value. The calculator itself is called the function. I hope you understand that. Like the plus you entered is called the function. Okay, one other thing we need to talk about is upper and lower case. In Python, name are all different variables. Similarly, print or print is not the same as print. Try altering some of your code above to use print. I think we understood this from Java also. Java is also case sensitive. This Python 2 is case sensitive. I think the only place we talked about case insensitivity was SQL, the data management class. But for Java, for Python, they are case sensitive. Print is not the same as print. You can print like this. You can even see the color coding is gone. The functions are in green. Don't take my word for they might be different in other editors, but if you're using this notepad, functions are in green. You can see that strings are in red, variable names are in black. So when you see that things are not matching, this is a print, then there's an issue, right? So it's already telling you this is not going to work. So hi, I'm telling you 12. Yeah, it's telling you print is not defined, and this brings us into error. I don't know if error was treated at some point. When people say things like this, they give up. Like normal people, not people like you now that are developing. When ordinary people say things like this, they just like this thing is not working. They don't bother reading, right? People don't read. Like we say in the cybersecurity class, human beings are generally lazy. It wouldn't take them a minute to read these 5 lines, but they are not interested in reading it. But you as a developer, you should be interested in reading it. If you remember the Java class, when we hit an error, it pops out something, some are readable, some are not. And when people say things like that, they just give up and this thing is not working. But just read it. It doesn't, even if it's long and it takes time, as once you start reading, if you read once, read twice, by the time you read like 10 times, you know where to go. When you see an error like that, you know, okay, this kind of error, readable part should be on the first line, or the readable part should be on the last line, or the readable part should be somewhere, right? So you need to read error. Don't just see these red lines and be like, this thing is not working. The next thing is, lecturer, please, this thing is not working. Take your time and read it. What is it saying here? Name error, trace back, most recent call. So I'll be honest. Most times they are not really, they don't make sense. But 7 out of 10 times you will see a line that makes sense to you. You will see a line written in plain English, right? But the other 3 times, then you can call your lecturer and tell him, I don't know what is going on here. Happens to everybody. So name error, trace back, motives, then I don't understand. Cell in 20 line 4. So it's saying something is happening on line 4. Then point out to the line 4. Print I, then it's giving you something here. Name print is not defined. So you know where you're going. It's already giving you several pointers. Something is happening on line 4. Although it's not telling us, but it's telling you something is happening on line 4. It's pointing out line 4 for you. And it's telling you now that, okay, I don't know what print is. Print is not defined, right? So that's how to debug. So once you see that, even if you don't know what to do, you can just take it out for a minute, comment it. Remember, comment in Java. Comment is for taking out something. Is for you want to write something, but you don't want it to affect your code, right? You don't want it to affect your program as a whole, but just for readability. So you can comment it. The syntax is different. The syntax here is just hash. Introduce an hash before it, then comment it out. So comment it out when you see an error like this and it's pointing out the line for the error. You can just comment it out for a minute and see if you're good. Anthony, like if that is if you don't understand what is actually going on, it works. So then you need to isolate this line and treat it and analyze it well, and analyze it separately and well. You get, so we already know that print is not a good word. And at the end of the day, if you still don't understand, like if you still don't know how to go about it, Anthony 12, then you could just copy this thing, right? Go to Google, paste it, put Python in front. To solve the name error, name X is not defined error in Python, you need to make sure blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is what I want. Name print is not defined. Then the function and keywords name are case sensitive in Python. Looks like you type print where you are meant to type print. Python is case sensitive. Print, hello world. Well, most times you want to go with the first answer because they're voting. So, okay, I didn't talk about this. This is one place you can always trust to get answers. Although 9 out of 10 times they are correct, but there is that one time when everybody does not know what is going on. So, Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow, just one other thing you can do if you're not getting Stack Overflow, you can just even put Stack Overflow in front of it. So Python Stack Overflow takes you to Stack Overflow immediately, and just look for the first answer. There you can see there vote 7, 17, 7. You will even see some of -1. This person is writing nonsense. Yeah, just telling him you're writing nonsense. So, but go for the first one. If the first one is not clear enough, check the second one, and then you could see almost everything is actually the same. This is telling you print should be small letter P. This is telling you this is how to write it. Well, the way they vote, you say that this is more explanatory than every other thing. So that's how to use it. So Stack Overflow, keep that in mind. So they are telling us, okay, print here is wrong. Let's change it to small p and run it again. Anthony 12, and there we go, works fine. So That's how to debug different levels of debugging. And at the end of the day, if you still don't get your answer on Google, talk to a colleague, talk to your lecturers, and you should be fine at the end of the day. So that's it. Case sensitivity, we've seen that. That's this. In Python, variable usually have all lowercase names. So we use name and not name or name. You get, so when you are declaring a when you are declaring a variable, just stick with small letter. Anyway, not just Python, even Java, just stick with small letter. Name. Even in data management class, you could see that the columns are always in small letter. It's not a big deal actually. It's better that way. That's the convention, right? So just stick with it. In Python, variable usually all have lowercase name, so we use name and not name or name. If you want a long name, then you can use snake case, which means putting underscore in between. You can't use space or punctuation in a variable name. So you need a variable, right? You want to create a variable. I want to create a variable called your student status, right? So your student status. Now this is not a variable. This is a sentence. This is not a variable. If you want to convert it to a variable, then you can. They need to be one word. Like everything needs to be one word. So this is three different words. So either you take everything off and all you have is your, but if you need everything, just introduce an underscore. This joins it together automatically. So this turns to one word. Or if you depending on, according to this, they are encouraging you to use underscore, but there are other means of doing this. You can use camel case, the student status, right? Your student status. Different word start with a different start with capital letter, right? Or you use snake case. When the word starts, you change you instead of space, you replace space with underscore. So that's how you have a variable name. You don't use space, you don't use punctuation. Punctuation meaning full stop, comma, blah blah blah. You don't use all this. I will leave this for you to answer yourself. Let's go into the next. We've mastered working with text. Let's do a bit of math now. Type the following. Answer equals 2 plus 2. So we're going into arithmetics. 2 plus 2, print answer 4. That's fine. Python is very flexible about the spaces in that first line. Go back and add some extra spaces. So basically, most programming languages, they don't really care about white spaces. It doesn't do them anything. Like by the time it's being compiled, changing to machine code, changing into byte code, changing into bits, they will take off the spaces themselves. So it doesn't really matter. It's still going to work fine. As long as it's not in a string though. If you put your space in a string, say something like this, for example, print I think some languages are going to, you can see because it's in a string. Well, if it's not part of a string, it doesn't matter. Yeah, doesn't matter. But when those spaces are, all you are saying here is, you see with this apostrophe, right? This apostrophe is telling the string that give me the way I give you. It's not really like a string per se. The apostrophe is just like things here might be scattered. You can see that everywhere else we know what we are typing, but here things might be scattered. I can have string, I can have number, but just give me the way I gave you. That's the whole idea of this apostrophe. Everything from here to here, give me as I gave it to you. So that's string and spaces. You can do math as you would expect with numbers using plus, minus, multiplication, division. You can use brackets for categorization in math. All those board maths and co, they are all valid here. As you will be writing in math, get Python to do. If you have done lab 4 of Java, you would have seen the use of brackets. It's you guys should go and do lab 4 in Java and see the use of brackets. So yeah, it's just saying get Python to tell you what this is. So basically, I think there's just a print here. So that's it. So I think this is what they're telling you to do. You're using a notebook, so that's why it's popping it out whether you type something or not. So, but print the answer of this. If you want to do it explicitly, you can say answer equals that. Then you print out answer. Print, and that is it. Okay, that's quite a lot of maths on a single line, so you can break things up, blah blah blah. If you feel like breaking it up, I think everybody understands what's going on here. To take it again, they're just breaking down this maths using the brackets. The first bracket is 7 plus 2. The second bracket is 40,000 plus 1, and they are doing the summation of each one of them divided by 4. They have that. You can just go through it on your own time. Let's combine this with a little of what we learned earlier. Try asking the user for a number and then printing out that number plus 1. Right? So I'm setting you up to fail here. You get an error when you try. Give it a go and see what happens. So we asked the user for a number. So number equals input. Okay, before I go, so people don't get things mixed up. I know everybody here is also doing Java. Everybody here is also doing Java. Now, the variable definition in Java is different from the variable definition in Python. Please don't mix it up in exam. I'm still begging my own head to not to mix it up inside the exam, because the way I've been mixing up the lecture itself is alarming. Just hope I don't also mix up the code in the exam. The variable definition and a lot of things syntax wise are different, right? In Java, you need the data type, right? So you need something like double, then the variable name, which is number, then the value 2, right? Here is just they simplify things for you. Just put the variable name and the value. That's all. So don't mix it up. So we have number equals input, enter a number, enter a random number, right? Then we are asked to print out the number they entered plus 1, right? Run entering 3. Now, can anybody just unmute and speak while this is showing an error? Do you have any volunteer?
Okay, so let me try. So what's going on here is that this plus 1 there is standing there as a number already, as an integer, and number there is already a variable by itself. So you can't combine here is a string and an integer, right? If I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah,
you need to have one of them converted to either a string and a string, or an integer and an integer, so that you can have everything as uniform, not combining different forms of the data types in the print function.
Okay, that's good. Any other person wants to give it a try? Okay. What he said is valid, but one thing he missed is the fact that anything you are getting from input in Python is a string. It's going to be a string. Anything you are getting from inputs, whether you are typing your age, you are typing just 2, you type 0, you type 1, is going to convert that 1. You know, there's difference between 1 and 1. So if we ask you for an input and you enter 1, at the end of the day, this is what we are getting. I hope you're getting it. So number here that I type 3 is actually 3, not number, is a string. So on this line, on this print line, what we are doing is 3 plus 1. This is not possible. Okay, you can either concatenate strings and strings, say, okay, 3 plus this kind of 3 plus this kind of 1. Then at the end of the day, you get 31, right? Or you do 3 plus 1, which at the end of the day gives you 4. Yeah, so depending on what you want to do, there are 2 things you want to do here. You either want to convert the numbers you are getting to an integer, because this is going to pop out a string. This is going to pop out a string. Every input will give you a string, irrespective of what you entered. Right? So what you are doing is you are now saying on this line, you are now doing something like 3 plus 1. This is wrong. This is wrong, right? So what you can do is to convert your number, the number you got. So this is actually number as a string. This comes out as a string, right? Then you convert the number as a string into an integer. That is into a number. That is what they call typecasting. You cast from a data type to another data type. You cast from a string to a number. You cast from a number to a string. So to typecast, they gave an example here, but we're just going to run through it. There's also typecasting in Java. I don't think it has its own way of, every language has their way of typecasting and stuff like that. So to typecast it, I'll say, okay, my main number now, number as a number now equals int, right? Then I bring this string, right? I'm now converting this string 3 I got here into an integer. So if you, let's just do something very quick. Print number as a string. I think this is actually going to show you the same thing, but we'll take it a bit at a time. As a number 12, you get the same thing, but it's actually different. Now, how do you check the difference? I think they talked about it somewhere down the line. You can use type. Now, when you're dealing with variables in any programming language, there are 2 things. There are 2 things that are being checked on the variable. One, there is the value itself, and there's the type. Now, the value sometimes might be the same, and the type might be different. Now, 12, this 12 and this 12 are actually the same thing. This 12 and this 12 are the same value, but different type. Now, let's copy and paste and see what types gets. You can use, I think, type brackets, type bracket, type brackets. They did not talk about it. That's fine. Type, just add type, put it in brackets. Type is a function. Make sure you complete the bracket. Type is a function. Complete the bracket. 12. So the first type is str, which is a string. The second type is int, which is an integer. So what we got was a string, then we converted it to an integer. I hope this makes sense.
Can we So shall we let you finish? Then we ask question, or do you want to finish before we now
No,
ask the question?
and if there's anything you want, you can ask a question.
Okay, sorry for bringing you back a little bit. So if for example now, from your variable declaration in Python now, can you say, okay, you have already said, for example, number is equal to 12. Now, number there you have already explained that, okay, number there will now come out as a string. That is after you say enter a random number. So if you want that number to come out as an integer instead of a string, that is from the declaration stage, is that possible? Or you would rather convert it later after you are now going to print out the final like output statement? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. It's everything I wrote here that is this word. I can put everything inside one line. It's just readability and stuff. You could do the same thing you did here on this line. You could just say int, right? Convert it directly.
Okay.
You could do this. So if you do this, then this is not needed, and this is
okay. That's good. All right then. That's good. All right. Thank you. That's okay.
So what you are saying is collect something, and automatically convert it to an integer.
Yeah. Okay.
Instead of having it multiple lines, you can have it on a single line. But for readability and I can write this, but for other people in class, this might be a bit confusing because.
Okay, so this is actually valid in Python. This is also valid. Like
this is very valid. This is valid. Let's take it off. This is valid.
Okay.
12.
Okay.
Yeah. Int.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's understood. Thank you. That's okay.
Just when you are doing things like this, you should be careful at like for new developers, you should be careful.
Okay. Yes.
So as to miss brackets, not complicating stuff and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's that. I think in the sense of putting everything on a line, I think you can everything I wrote here can actually be in a single line, but let's not complicate it. So okay, so that doesn't work. Okay, actually it doesn't work because we fixed it, but it wasn't supposed to work. So they've done the fixing somewhere, and there they just converted the number, the string to an integer here, as we have seen. So that is done. So printing out, or try printing out my age is 5. I see the reason to do this. Okay. The same way we converted a string to an integer, you can also convert an integer to a string. And one use case of that is you cannot concatenate. Like I said earlier, you can't add things of different data types. So you're trying to say something like print, where is it? Print this print my age is 5. You can't do this because here you are trying to add a string with an integer. So this is going to throw an error telling you can only concatenate string, not int to string. So you are trying to concatenate a string and an integer. This is not going to work. But I still want to say my age is 5. How do I go about that? Right? How do I go about telling them that my age is actually 5? You need to convert this to a string. And that should work. My age is 5. So that is a use case for converting an integer to a string. For converting a string to an integer, maybe you got something is a string, right? And you need to do some arithmetic. Arithmetic will not be done on a string. So you need to convert those string to an integer. If you need to print out something, you have a string and you're trying to print out an integer with that string, then you need to convert that integer, in this case, to a string so as to print it out. So what happens here is it changes this 5 to string 5, changes the 5 to a string. The value is still the same, but the type is different. I hope you understood that. Convert 5 to a string, and you should be fine. We've done that. Other bits you should know: you can print a new line in 2 ways. You can use, we did this in Python in Java 2 days ago. You can do this, or you can print them all together. Print line 1, line 2. You might be tempted to put an enter here. This does not make any sense. Don't do that. This is not what we want. We want it on separate lines. That is where the \n comes into place. It's the same thing as it's the same thing in Java. \n for new line, \t for tab. I think that's the two I'm familiar with. Those are the common ones. There are more. You can check them out. Okay, this is actually the T example. So \t, you have a tab, just gives us space in the middle. So now you know how to do some basic Python. What are you going to do with it? Think of an idea, let it, you can do this on yourself, impress me. If you don't have any good idea, then you can solve this. Has anybody tried this? Do you have anybody that has tried this? Can you draw a position from a game of noughts and crosses? Noughts and crosses. No. Game. This game. Has anybody tried? Do we have anybody that tried this out? Okay. We'll try that out in a bit. We can actually do that here, but before we do that, we'll just do this. Say friends F and C are linked by this equation. Ask the user for a temperature and convert it for them. So we ask for the temperature in Celsius. So temperature in Celsius equals input, enter your current temperature, right? And then we do the conversion for them. So that will be F equals 1.8 times C is our temperature in Celsius times this plus 32. Now this is not going to run. Can anybody tell me why we have an error here? Can anybody tell me why this is not going to run? Now, why there will be an error here? Any volunteer?
I think because you are using two in terms of two different data types.
Yeah, data type. Well, okay, you're correct. I'm just trying to make sure you understand what you are getting at. Now, this here is going to be a variable. Sorry, it's going to be a string.
Yeah.
So you are now doing 1.8, which is an integer multiplied by a string. That is going to work.
Yeah.
So this will throw an error, even if, okay, let's fix this. Another error, so let's just run it and see that now good. So 12. Yeah, it's saying can't multiply sequence by non-int of type float. Bunch of English, so we know what to do. We want to convert this to an integer. We just convert it. All right, convert it to an integer, run it again, 12. Then that is gone. Can only concatenate string, not float to string. So what is happening here is the other 1 from here, right? So what we got as a result of this here is what we'll get as a result of this calculation is a float. And we are trying to combine, concatenate a string and a float together. It's not going to work. So you need to convert the float to a string, also string, then convert and 12, and you get your temperature in F is 53.6. That of naught and crosses, let me see, it's just print actually, just print. Using minus and plus, so you could have something like, I would just, okay, that's the position. There are several ways of doing this. You could say first line, there are 3 lines, right? 1, 2, 3. So depending on what you're trying to get, I'll just do mine. You can also think of yours. Print I need a space. Let's just say space or a tab. Can use a pipe and another tab. I'm trying to draw. I need 2 lines here, right? So 1, 2. So 2 lines. Let me see what I get from here first. So I get this line. So I can go ahead and print something under it. I want to use plus, right? Yeah. So between this thing, I want to put this, yeah, this and this and this might not really look fine. So, well, instead of using tab, we can just use tab to make things cleaner. There are different ways to go about it, though, but just keep doing it until you. This isn't what I want. I want this. Yep. I want this. Yep. So that's that, and just copy and paste. See what I get. Okay, I'm almost there. I need one more. All right, so that's my empty positions, and I can just fill in some blanks. Let's say 0 x x 0, probably 0, and 0 x 0. So this is a position of noughts and crosses, right? Unfortunately, nobody won. Just fine. Okay, actually, somebody won. This guy won. So does this make sense? This is just printing. There are several ways of still doing this. You can, and one challenge I think you can give yourself is, at least we're in lab 4 now, and I figured some people might be following the class. You can actually print out. I think I have one here. Let me see if I can bring it up. You can actually build the game if you have the time, right? You can build the game in full. Can I access my iCloud? No, I can't. I can't access my iCloud. That's not good. Let me see. I can bring it up. So stop. Lab 1. It's not completed yet, but you can actually have the game being played. That is if you have the time. So entire month, right? So for like you just places the stuffs where they're supposed to be. So if you think you have the time and you can do it, you can do that, which is fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I think the game is over, right? So I think, yep. So okay, this guy still won, which is good. So basically, but this is what they said you should do. Just give a position. Can you draw a position from a game of nought and crosses using this, and this? So that is what we've done using underscore, dash plus and this. So we're just using the 0 and x for game played. So do we have any question? This does make sense to everybody here right now.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, if there's no question, have a good day, everybody. And if you're struggling with, if you have any labs you've not done, it's not even struggling. If you're not up to date on the OT2 lab, data management, please go to lab tomorrow. There is a optional lab tomorrow. Try to figure it out. Have a good day, everybody. Take care of yourself, and bye.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate this. I mean, it's really helpful, really.
No worries, no worries.